Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, texts number 43 and 44. Yes, thank you. Prahradasya Anucharitam Maha Bhagavatasya Cha Bhaktir Jnanam Viraktish Cha Yatharthyam Chasya Vai Harehe Prahradasyanucharitam Mahabhagavatasya Cha Bhaktir Jnanam Viraktischa Yatharthyam Chasya Vai Harehe Prahradasyanucharitam Mahabhagavatasya Cha Bhaktir Jnanam Viraktischa Yatharthyam Chasya Vai Hare Prahradasyanucharitam Mahabhagavatasya Cha Bhaktir Jnanam Viraktischa Yatharthyam Chasya Vai Hare
Mahabhagavatasya Cha Bhakti Jnanam Viraktischa Yatharthyam Chasya Vai Hare
Prahladasyanucharitam Mahabhagavatasya cha Bhakti-gyanam viraktischa Yatartyam chasya vai harehe
Sivai Hare Prahladasyanucharitam Mahabhagavatasya cha Bhakti-gyanam viraktischa Yathartyam chasya vai Hare.
Anybody else online? Tapas Prabhu?
Prahladasyanucharitam Mahabhagavatasya cha Bhakti-gyanam viraktischa Yatharthayam chasya vai Hare.
One more person? And no more persons. Okay, there you go. Prahladasya of Prahlad Maharaj. Anucharitam, characteristics understood by reading or describing his activities. Mahabhagavatasya, of the great and exalted devotee. Cha, also Bhakti, devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jnanam, complete knowledge of the transcendence. Brahman, Paramatma, and the Bhagavan. Virakti, renunciation of material existence. Cha, also Yatharthyam, just to understand each of them perfectly. Cha, and Asya, of this. Vai, indeed. Harehe, always in reference to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, I'll just read the next verse on my own. Sargasthityapyayeshyasya gunakarmanuvarnanam paravaresham sthananam kalena vyatyayo mahan. This narration describes the characteristics of the great and exalted devotee Prahlad Maharaj, his staunch devotional service, his perfect knowledge, and his perfect detachment from material contamination. It also describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers, has described the transcendental qualities of the Lord and has also described how the various abodes of the demigods and demons, regardless of how materially opulent, are destroyed by the mere direction of the Lord. I should read this footnote in relation to the word anuvarnanam. In the second verse, in verse 44, there's a footnote which says the word anu, the prefix anu in this word, anuvarnanam, means after. Authorized persons do not create anything, rather they follow the previous acharyas. So varnanam means to describe, so anuvarnanam means describing within the disciplic succession, as Srila Prabhupada says, translates here. Okay, purport. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is filled with descriptions of the characteristics of various devotees with reference to the service of the Lord. This Vedic literature is called Bhagavatam because it deals with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotee. By studying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, one can perfectly understand the science of Krishna, the nature of the material and spiritual worlds, and the aim of life. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Amalam Puranam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the spotless Vedic literature, as we have discussed in the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Therefore, simply by understanding Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one can understand the science of the activities of the devotees, the activities of the demons, the permanent abode, and the temporary abode. Through Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, everything is perfectly known. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Srila Prabhupada in this purport, there's a sentence here. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the spotless Vedic literature as we have discussed in the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam begins with this verse, Janmadhyasya yatonvayadi taratashyarteshvabhignasvarat, etc. And it basically describes, this is the first verse of the Mangalacharan actually of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So this verse, the second verse, and the third verse are very important. That's the Mangalacharan of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And it describes basically what's in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, who it's for, and what basically the fruit of it is, or the fruit of reading it. So I, taking advantage of Srila Prabhupada mentioning the beginning of the Bhagavatam here, wanted to read a little bit from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary to the first verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, because his commentary, which is very long actually, he describes really in depth, like he explains the verse in at least, well, he explains the first verse in 6 different ways, 6 different translations basically. And he describes the nature of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and with evidence from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and its purpose, who it's meant for, like that. So because this purport, Srila Prabhupada's talking about how Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is spotless, it's filled with descriptions of the characteristics of various devotees with reference to the Lord, deals with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He talks about by studying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one can perfectly understand Krishna, the nature of, etc. So, and then he says, through Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, everything is perfectly known. I thought it fit with this commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So I thought I'll read some and speak some, and I won't be reading the whole time, but I'll just read a little bit and then I'll speak some. I wanted to begin because the first couple sentences are, at least the first couple sentences are really beautiful. He says, the cloud of Sri Chaitanya has rained a sweet shower of mercy, producing a river of devotion to himself, where the jivas play like elephants in the Ganga. May the dark cloud of Lord Krishna Chaitanya, made golden with a flash of lightning, illuminate the sky of my mind. I worship the one absolute truth, Krishna, who is eternal bliss and supreme consciousness, Nityananda Advaita Chaitanya, personified as the eternal Bhagavatam, which is the complete form of Brahma Sutra in its most embellished form, and who resides with eternal bhakti and the eternal devotees in the eternal spiritual abode. I take shelter of the eternal form, name, and qualities of Krishna known from the Bhagavatam, which I studied for a long time by the mercy of Guru. After having studied the Vaishnava Toshini of Sanatana, that's his commentary on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and after having understood the conclusions of Lord Chaitanya from the Sandarbhas of Jiva by the mercy of Sridhar Swami, I produced this commentary to show the essence of Bhagavatam. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur first talks about, he says, the cloud of Sri Chaitanya has rained a sweet shower of mercy, producing a river of devotion to himself, where the jivas play like elephants in the Ganga. Besides it being a very poetic statement, it's actually a very important one, because what makes Mahaprabhu, I should say Mahaprabhu presented the essence of Vedic literature in a practically actually a categorically different way than even previous Vaishnavacharyas, including, well, yeah, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, all of the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. Mahaprabhu's presentation of Vedic knowledge was different, actually. He presented it in a much different way. In that, traditionally, if one, or at least traditionally up until that point, and it goes on till nowadays, but traditionally if one wants to establish their darshan, if one wants to establish their philosophical position, one establishes it by this prasthanatrayi. Prasthanatrayi means the 3 for basically establishing. So the 3 pramanas which are traditionally used are Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and the Dashopanishad, or the 10 principal Upanishads. This tradition was started by Shankaracharya. There was no 10 principal Upanishads before Shankaracharya. They're 10 principal Upanishads because they're the 10 that he commented on. So it began basically with Shankaracharya. He established his position based on these things, and he was the first one after Buddha to establish faith in the Vedic literatures again. So then that tradition kind of carried on from there. And then Ramanujacharya came. He did the same thing, refuting Shankaracharya's explanations. You have Madhvacharya and you have the other Vaishnavacharyas. So these three things, Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, especially those 10 Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. Those are the three main pramanas that acharyas have used to establish their philosophical positions. Now, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam certainly is read by Sri Vaishnavas. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is certainly read by Madhvas, but it's not considered by their acharyas as Puranam Amalam, like the Shastram Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam, there's another verse, as the spotless pramana. So Mahaprabhu, Bhaktivinoda Thakur notes that Mahaprabhu actually, he wanted to change this tradition. Actually, sorry, what I was going to say is that they don't consider it this Pramanam Amalam like we do, and so you don't see that they don't quote from it very much, actually. They're Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. They don't quote from it in their Vedanta Sutra commentary. So, although they do, of course, respect it. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur noted that Mahaprabhu wanted to change this tradition, actually. He wanted to change this tradition of pramana. And therefore, he established that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the pramanam amalam. It's the greatest spotless pramana, the spotless evidence for establishing philosophical conclusions based on the Vedas. He did, although, explain Vedanta Sutra twice. He explained Vedanta Sutra once to the Mayavadis at Kashi or at Varanasi, and he explained the Vedanta Sutra also to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he did explain the Vedanta Sutra twice. It's not that he thought the Vedanta Sutra was bogus or something like that. But his emphasis, and it's not just actually Mahaprabhu's idea, it's actually there in Shastra. There's verses in the Matsya Purana, Gurur Purana, other Puranas which describe the lists of the different Puranas, that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the natural commentary on Brahma Sutra, on Vedanta Sutra. It's the purport on the Gayatri Mantra, and it describes everything in full in relation to Krishna, of course. So it's there in other Shastras as well, not just Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and it's not just coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. So that's something, some background on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, he brings up these, he describes basically three ways that the Bhagavatam describes itself, or three similes that the Bhagavatam uses to describe itself. The lamp, that the Bhagavatam is like a lamp, it's like a sun, and it's like a desire tree. And there's a fourth kind of bonus one that it's also like Mohini Murti. So we'll talk. Yeah, well, it's like a desire tree or like the ripened fruit of a desire tree, yeah. So I will talk about those 3.5 things, those 3.5 similes. So often the emphasis, and the emphasis that definitely that Mahaprabhu makes is that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is for Paramahamsas. That's in the second verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Dharma projata kaitavotra paramo nirmat saranam satam. That Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is meant to be relished by those who are nirmatsara, by nirmatsaranam, who are free. Yes. Okay, so it's nirmatsaranam satam vedyam. So it's known by those who are free from envy, who are selfless, basically, Paramahamsas. Therefore, sometimes Bhagavatam is also called Paramahamsa Samhita, the that work which is meant for Paramahamsas. So, although that is the case, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he quotes this verse, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharataha abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. That just as Krishna comes for the deliverance or for the reestablishment of Dharma, in a similar way, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam comes to reestablish those principles which were made unclear by the various Vedic literatures, branches of Vedic study, etc. At the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the first canto, we hear how Vyasadeva, after compiling all the Vedic literatures, was dissatisfied, and Narada Muni told him that he was dissatisfied because he hadn't produced a work which wholly and solely glorified Krishna in the process of devotional service. So, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, like Krishna, comes in order to make the path clear. So, in that way, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes it as a lamp. Elsewhere in the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there's this verse which is kind of a pranam mantra to Shukadeva Goswami. It says, Yasvanu bhavam akila shruti saramekam adhyatma deepam atitit tirshatam tamondham samsarinam kurunayaha purana guhyam tam vyasa sunum upayami guru muninam. It describes that out of his mercy, after realizing it himself, Shukadeva Goswami, he explained this Purana Guhyam, this confidential Purana, for the upliftment of the fallen conditioned souls. Adhyatma Deepam, Atititirsham Tam Tamondham. And it is like a Adhyatma Deepa, like a spiritual lamp which lights the way, which dissipates the darkness of ignorance for those who are in the cycle of birth and death. So in that way, it's like a lamp, because it delivers one, it basically delivers one from the misery which arises from ignorance, of even the basic knowledge of Krishna, basic knowledge of the spirit soul, and establishes the proper sambandha. So this is sambandha jnana. Sambandha means relationship, means understanding that I am a spirit soul, Krishna is God, and I have a relationship with him, and my duty is to serve him. Just that basic understanding is sambandha. And that we see in the first verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Janmadhyasya yadonvayadi taratascharteshva bhignaswarat tene brahmarhadaya adi kavaye muhyanti yat surya tejovari mridam yatha vinimayo yatrati sargo mrshat dhamna svena sadane rastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. He says, this is, let me pull up Srila Prabhupada's translation. Sorry. Actually, I have it here. Srila Prabhupada's translation says, O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna, because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire, or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. So we see in this verse, it's giving basic facts about the universe. It's not saying, it's saying Krishna is the absolute truth. He lives in his eternal abode, which is beyond the modes of nature. And it's describing how he first imparted Vedic knowledge to Brahma, and how he is eternally existing in his spiritual abode, and he manifests the material universes, etc. Just these kind of basic facts. It's not talking about sadhana. It's not talking about how to realize Him. It's just basically establishing basic faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is Sambandha Gyan. This is the first, or this is why Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is described as a lamp. And we see this also in the first and second cantos. The first and second cantos are like a prelude for basically the rest of the Bhagavatam. They discuss topics that are presented in the Bhagavatam, but as in a more foundational way. So that is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as a lamp. Then he describes Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the sun. And he quotes this verse, Krishne swadhamo pagate dharma jnanadi bisaha kalo nashtad drashamesha puranarko dunodataha. Puranarkaha. Arka means sun. It's actually a name also which comes up in Vishnu Sahasranam. It's a name for Vishnu. Puranarka means that it's the sun amongst the Puranas. So why is it the sun? It's the sun because, of course, because you could say a lamp and the sun, they have similar properties or the similar functions in that they light things up. But it's specifically the sun because it lights things up not only just basically, because you're in the dark and you light a lamp and it's okay, you can see some things, if it's a big room, like if you're in here and you light and it's pitch black and you light a lamp, but you can see some things. You can see the things which are around you. You can see immediate obstacles, things which are right in front of you. But if the sun is out, even if the lights are off, if the sun is out, then the whole room is illuminated. You can see everything as it is. And you can know where to go, how to get there. There's no kind of feeling around in the dark. So in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, it says that the Bhagavatam is described as a sun, which is because it has more powerful illumination. It destroys the misconceptions of the demons and it brings joy to the devotees. And this is given in a number of places. One place it's given is in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's second explanation of the first verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. His second explanation is this. So the first explanation, Sambandha, that's same as Srila Prabhupada's translation. But he says, let us meditate on Krishna, who is known as Satya, who through his abode, Mathura, and by revelation of his form to his devotees destroys ignorance concerning himself, whose body, though appearing to be material to the demons, is not temporary at all, who, after appearing in Vasudev's house, went to Nanda's house, knowing how to cheat Kamsa, and who, knowing the appearance of his devotees Prema in Vraj, remained there because of his own people, though he is in all cases independent, and who revealed that the cows and calves were actually the supreme Brahman to Brahma by his will, which bewilders even persons such as Narada. So he describes, especially here, destroys ignorance concerning himself. By his revelation of his form to his devotees, he destroys ignorance concerning himself. And though appearing to be material to the demons, is not temporary at all. And it's described later in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary that the sun, it's considered to be the sun because it reveals, in addition, the results of forbidden practices for enjoyment and renunciation available in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and their unlimited sub-varieties. So it reveals basic facts about prayojana, and it reveals especially abhideya. It reveals the process of devotional service. So therefore, the Bhagavatam is like the sun for sadhakas, for those who want to become free, for those who want to become spiritually realized. The Bhagavatam is like the sun because it destroys all of their misconceptions. Whatever darkness might be left in their practice of sadhana, whatever attachment they might have to dharma, whatever attachment they might have to artha, to kama, to moksha, all of these things are destroyed by the narrations in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And so this is also present not only in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's second explanation of the first verse, but it's also given in the second verse, Dharma projita kaitavotra. That here in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Dharma projita kaitavotra, kaitava dharma, cheating dharma, or anything which is not pure devotional service is herein banished, thrown away, far away. And it establishes the Vedyam Vastavam, Atra vastu shivadam tapatrayam mulanam. It establishes that which is real, vastavam, substantial, and it uproots the threefold miseries of material nature. So for sadhakas, the Bhagavatam is like a sun. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also describes that there's 10 purposes of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And of these 10 topics of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Of these 10 topics, creation, or sarga and visarga, maintenance, sthana, protection, poshana, and uti, inclination, manvantara, the description of the different manus, ishanukata, the description of the descent of the Lord and his devotees, and mukti, liberation. These are part of the Bhagavatam's being the sun. So these are the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, basically 8 purposes or topics of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. These are like the sun. These are for the purpose of destroying misconceptions of the demons and bringing joy to the devotees. So we see in the 3rd and 4th cantos that this sarga and visarga is described in greater detail. In the 2nd canto it's described, but in the 3rd canto especially it's described. This creation and secondary creation. We have Vidura and Maitreya talking about the universal form, the first step in God realization. That's all in the 3rd canto. And so it describes the majesty and the grandeur of the Lord. It describes how the Lord is supreme. Not just that he's supreme, but how he is supreme, showing his opulence, his majesty. The 5th canto continues in this way. You have Priyavrata, who's helping also with the creation. He carves out the oceans with the wheels of his chariot. He's pulling the sun. And then it also discusses sthanam, the maintenance, or how things are arranged, the planets. Discusses the hellish planets also. Then the 6th canto describes poshanam, protection, especially with the Jamil, how those who are engaged in dharma, those who are dharmic, are protected, or those who are, even if they might fall away, I should say, because the Jamil, of course, for the vast majority of his life wasn't a very dharmic person, but he was protected by his practice of dharma, whatever little practice of dharma he had. And then in the 7th canto, you have uti, or inclination, especially contrasting the inclinations of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad, showing the inclination of how a pure devotee is inclined to the Lord versus how a non-devotee is inclined to the Lord. It also describes how Shuddha Bhakti and Mishra Bhakti, or pure Bhakti and mixed Bhakti. It talks about Varnashram also later in the 7th canto. In the 8th canto, you have descriptions of the different manus. In the 9th canto, you have Ishanukata, description of the Lord's descent, and especially the descent of his devotees. In the 9th canto, there's really long lists of names, and describes also, there's a summary of Ramayana in the 9th canto. And it describes different devotees, and it ends with the descent of Kṛṣhṇa. So you have all of these different topics which are useful for sadhakas, useful for people on different levels of devotional service, not necessarily sadhakas aiming for prema bhakti, but even sadhakas, or you could say even like vraja bhakti, that kind of, like raganuga sadhakas. But even lower level sadhakas, all of these things are important to see how Krishna is arranging the world, how he's supreme, to understand that one is protected by their practice of dharma, to understand that, or the difference between devotees and non-devotees, to understand or to hear about the different descent or the descent of different various devotees in different dynasties. So all of these things are useful. But interestingly enough, and a main feature of the Bhagavatam, what makes the Bhagavatam unique is that in describing all of these things, which you could describe from a lower level perspective, you could say, like for instance, protection whilst engaging in dharma, or protection from engaging in dharma, or the descriptions of the manvantaras and the descent, or the different reigns of the manus. All of these things are, yes, in one sense, inherently devotional. But, for instance, the reign of the different manus, they're not, something like that is not absolutely directly related to practicing pure devotional service and engaging in pure devotional service to Krishna and Vrindavan. However, in every single canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, even in describing these different things, there is mention, and not just like kind of like mention, but there's descriptions of Premi Bhaktas and their Prema Bhakti. There's descriptions of pure devotees and their pure devotional service. In the first canto, you have descriptions of how Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for Paramahamsas. You have descriptions of how Srimad Bhagavatam is only talking about Krishna, is only talking about pure devotional service, and how pure devotional service is the highest. Like you have this verse, Savai pumsamparo dharmo yato bhaktiradhokshaje ahaitika pratihata yaya atma suprasidati. It's talking about ahaituki bhakti, unmotivated devotional service, pure devotional service. In the second canto, you have like descriptions of I forget who's speaking now, saying that one who doesn't bow there, one who has a head with a big nice silken turban but doesn't bow down to the Supreme Lord. His head is just like a big burden. One who doesn't use his legs to walk to the different holy places. His legs are just like stumps. One who doesn't worship the Supreme Lord is like basically a dead person while walking. It's talking about pure devotional service in no uncertain terms. In the third canto, you have the teachings of Kapiladev, who extensively describes pure devotional service. In the fourth canto, you have narrations of devotees like Dhruva and Prithu and the Prachetas, who are chanting the prayers or the song sung by Lord Shiva, which is fully talking about pure devotional service to Krishna. In the fifth canto, you have in relation to the 10 topics of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is discussing sthanam, or the status quo, as Srila Prabhupada translates it. The arrangements of the different planets after Krishna creates it, then how it is maintained, what it is, the arrangements of the different planets. Even in relation to that, the Bhagavatam mentions Jadabharata, who is a pure devotee, mentions Rishabhadev, whose teachings are steeped in pure devotional service. In the sixth canto, you have Ajamila, and narrations about how Ajamila overcame was able to be saved by the Yamadutas because of his chanting of the holy name, and it describes how one who is engaged in devotional service is safe. There's also Vritrasura, who is definitely a pure devotee. Definitely there's narrations of pure devotional service in relation to Vritrasura and his prayers and such. The seventh canto, of course, you have Prahlad. Eighth canto, you have Bali, who is known for his Atmanivedana, for surrendering everything, his entire life, to Vishnu, to Vamanadev. You have Gajendra, who is also glorified for his devotional service. In the ninth canto, you have Ambarish, who is, Srila Prabhupada brings up as an example many times of pure devotional service. You have those verses, how he's using his different senses, his entire life for pure devotional service. In the 11th canto, you have Uddhava, who's certainly a pure devotee. And in the 12th canto, it describes the glories of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And how Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, just like the first canto, describes how Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, again, is for Paramahamsas, meant for explaining pure devotional service, like this. So in every single canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, whatever it's describing, there's always narrations of pure devotional service. Which brings us to the last simile, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur brings up in his commentary, which is that the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is like a fruit, like the fruit of a desire tree. In that, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam not only gives good information for getting out of the material world, but even besides that, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is just so relishable. Just so, and then this comes up in the third verse, the last verse of the Mangalacharana of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shukamukad amrita drava samyutam pipata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavakáha. Rasika. He says, "Oh Rasikas." First he's talking about, he goes from Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya to saying, "Oh Rasikas." This Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the ripened fruit of the Vedic literatures. Relish it, basically he says. It's been made sweet by the lips of Shukadev Goswami. Therefore, Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavacaha. Just relish it. Every single word in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for a Paramahamsa, for a Premi Bhakta, is just relishable. Vayam, the sages at Naimisharanya say to Sutta Goswami, Mahaprabhu also quotes this verse, speaking to the Mayavadis at Kashi, proving that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the highest Shastra. He says, Vayam tu navitrapyama uttama shloka vikrame yat shrinvatam rasagyanam svadu svadu pade pade. He says, or the sages at Naimisharanya say, Vayam tu navitrapyama. He says, we never tire of hearing of Uttama Shloka Vikrame, the activities of Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yat Shrinvatam Rasagyanam Svadu Svadu Pade Pade. Because those who are Rasagya, those who know about Rasa, who are Rasikas, like the third verse says, they, at every step in reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, hearing this, Tat Shrinvatam Rasagyanam Svadu Svadu Pade Pade, at every step they're just relishing and relishing the whole thing. Also, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes, Atmaramaschya munayo nirgrantha apyarukrame kurvantya haitukim bhaktim ittam bhuta guno hari. He says that even those who are Atmarama, even those who are self-satisfied, even those who are nirgrantha, have no material bondage, even then still, kurvantya haitukim bhaktim ittam bhuta guno harihi. Even they are attracted to performing pure devotional service. This is the amazing quality, Bhuta Guna, this amazing quality of Hari, that he is able even to attract people who are not attracted to anything else. So he quotes that in relation to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the same way. And he actually also quotes something from Shankaracharya's commentary on Nrsimha Tapani Upanishad. And he says that even those who are mukta, those who are liberated, they become attracted to the Lila of Lord Hari, and they install a deity and worship him. Even those who are attracted or who are detached completely from this world and see the Lord, or the ultimate manifestation of the Lord, as just Brahman, even they become attracted to the Lila of the Lord. And thus they establish some deity and they worship it. So in this way, Mahaprabhu, he establishes the authority of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to the Mayavadis at Kashi. That you may think you're so detached, you may think you're so renounced, but even these renounced persons, even the Kumaras, he also quotes this verse from the Kumaras came and saw Lord Vishnu. They were Brahmavadis. They knew that Vishnu existed, of course. It's not that they didn't know that Vishnu existed. Of course, that's why they went to go see him, because a preliminary of going to see someone is knowing that they exist. So they went there, and upon smelling the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, they went mad. They realized, they said, what is this? This is something amazing. And so they surrendered, or they realized that, okay, actually this is where it's at. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is trying to communicate, just like Srila Prabhupada says here, one can perfectly understand the science of Krishna, the nature of the material spiritual worlds, and the aim of life. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam describes everything about Krishna from practically every different angle. And this brings me to the kind of addendum, or the half, you could say, simile that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes about the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that it's like Mohini Murti. Mohini Murti, at the assembly of the demons and the demigods, at the churning of the milk ocean, she had this nectar which came out of the milk ocean, came from the churning. And so it's basically described that if one, whatever level one is at, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will reciprocate with one in that way. So especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur brings up that it's like Mohini Murti, because those demons who want to appear to understand the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or want to draw unfavorable conclusions from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the Bhagavatam is like Mohini Murti in that it gives them that. In every canto, there's something that Mayavadis like. In the 12th canto, there's verses. In the, first canto, second canto, everywhere. There's verses that the Mayavadis like. So the Bhagavatam is like Mohini Murti because it bewilders those demons. It bewilders those demons into accepting those conclusions. And it favors the devotees by giving them the nectar by which they can become immortal. The nectar that they can relish over and over and over and over again for eternity, in immortality. So in this way, simply, Srila Prabhupada says, simply by understanding Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one can understand the science of the activities of the devotees, the activities of the demons, the permanent and temporary abode. Through Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, everything is perfectly known. So, like I said, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam expounds Krishna consciousness from every topic of Krishna consciousness from every possible angle. So in that way, that is why our Sampradaya, especially the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accept Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the highest pramana, as the pramanam amalam. And not pramanam, not only pramanam amalam, but puranam amalam. It's not just the highest evidence, but it's the highest of all the Puranas. It's the highest of all of the Vedic literatures. So, by relishing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, by reading its descriptions, we can become pure. And we can, like it says here, filled with descriptions of the characteristics of various devotees. We can develop those characteristics with reference to the service of the Lord, and we can engage in the service of the Lord. So I will stop there. It's a little bit late. I'm sorry. I had a lot to say, but if there's few comments. I think Vijay Prabhu has something.
You mentioned the Kumaras. Nice class, by the way. They're Brahmavadis, but they were able to go through the first 6 gates and almost to the 7th. But they're Brahmavadis. To go to Vaikuntha, you got to love Vishnu.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they didn't get through, and Lord Vishnu came down and apologized to them.
Well, they didn't go to Vaikuntha, they went to the Vaikuntha which is in this mature world. They went to the pole star, to Shvetadvip, to the Milk Ocean, the planet of the Milk Ocean, which is still in the mature world. It's like not exactly a heavenly planet, so it's higher than a heavenly planet, but it's not. They didn't exit the material world, so they still went to a planet which is within the material world. But yes, it is interesting that Lord Vishnu did come and come down when they weren't let in. He did come down to see them. One reason I can think of is although just like the demigods might not understand things about Vishnu, and like Indra, for instance, Indra became even offensive, very offensive. Still, the demigods and those exalted personalities in the material world are dear to the Lord because they accomplish His purpose. They accomplish the purpose of populating the universe. Of course, they didn't do that. Yeah, but they do play a role in the universe. Preaching or at least bringing Jai and Vijay down to the material world so that Vishnu could fight him. But that's all I can think of, I guess, in that regard. That is interesting, though. They do also have their own sampradaya. Yes, Aviral Prabhu.
Thank you so much for the class. It was really nice. I was listening to Prabhupada, and he was telling the story about how Govind Bhashya came. Mm-hmm. So during the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there was no commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Like people, like Gaudiya Sampradaya people, they said that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. But a lot of other Sampradaya people, they started questioning Gaudiya Sampradaya that, oh, you don't have any commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So people approached Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur during that time, and he was really old. Then he asked his disciple Baldev Vidyabhushan to write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So Baldev Vidyabhushan was like still not convinced. Then he went to Jaipur, Govindji temple, to ask Govindji if he should write a commentary. So after that he got approval, and then he wrote Govind Bhashya as a commentary on Vedanta Sutra.
A garland fell from Govinda, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Prabhupada said he paid obeisances to the deities for 3 days to get the mercy to write that commentary.
Good way to figure something out, I guess. Yeah, if you have any questions about your spiritual life, just come to the temple room and offer obeisances until the answer pops into your head. Yeah. Somebody was telling me recently that there was one devotee. Actually, no, never mind. Anyway, yeah, never mind. I'm thinking of something else. Yes, Chad.
Hare Krishna. Regarding creation, what is the extent of the variation between the universes? Can you give some major examples? I know, like
I'm not quite sure about details. Some universes are bigger than others. Some universes are smaller than others. Our universe is described to be of the smallest. That's all I've really heard. Now, there's also different, in every universe there's Lord Brahma. In every universe there's different, like Narada, and all these kind of the main personalities within the universe are there. Yeah, whether they go by the same names, whether they look exactly the same, because like Brahma in different universes has different heads. There are different numbers of heads. So the basics are the same. That you have Brahma, and he creates things. You have these different also other great personalities, rishis. You have like the Sapta Rishis in this universe. My understanding is that those things are also there in other universes. The details, though, of how the whole creation plays out is different. That's my understanding. I haven't read so much about that, to be honest with you. But that's what I've heard in classes and things like that, and from what I've read. Yes, Druta Prabhu.
Just one note on the universe. This our universe here. My understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that in the fifth canto, I believe, the dimension, the width, to the outer planet, and diameter is given as 4 billion miles. And it just turns out that that's pretty close to what the scientists say our solar system is, the outer limit, And I'm not trying to go from there to, what that means, but I always thought that was fascinating, and Sadhapura wrote a lot of things about that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. You mentioned at one point that Lord Chaitanya, he kind of established the Bhagavatam as 3 things: Sambandha, Abhideya, and then Prayojana. And then, is that the Abhideya part? Is that kind of considered to sadhana?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, basically, yeah. Sambandha is foundational knowledge. Yeah. Abhideya is how to get from foundational knowledge to prayojana, or the end of all knowledge. Basically, that. How to get from knowledge to realize knowledge. Okay. Gruntharaja Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. very sorry. I forgot also to read that there's Vamsidas Babaji's, I think, disappearance or appearance, and then there's Raghunandana Thakur. I can speak a little bit about Vamsidas Babaji just from memory right now while I look up Raghunandana Thakur. So Vamsidas Babaji was a contemporary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Contemporary in the sense that they lived at the same time. He was older than him. And he was especially known for his very esoteric, avadutish, his very esoteric practice of Krishna consciousness, practice of devotional service. He wouldn't speak to anybody directly. He would only speak to, he had a little Gopal deity, he would speak to his Gopal deity. And he would speak to people through his Gopal deity. He traveled quite extensively with just a small tent. He had like a small tent he would set up wherever he was, and in the tent he would cook for his deities. And anyway, just a very esoteric personality. Devotees would sometimes, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would sometimes send devotees to bring him some boga for his deities. And they would go there, and he would take the boga, and immediately he would go, and he'd throw it all into the Ganga. And one time, there's a famous story about him that he, once somebody came into his little bhajan kutir in Navadvip. He was based in Navadvip. You can still go to his bhajan kutir. It's not the same, of course. They have a temple there now, but he went in and somebody had stolen the two pots that he would use to cook for Gaur Nitai. And so he said, speaking to his deities, he said, "You were supposed to watch the place while I was gone. So now, until you bring your pots back, I'm not cooking for you." So he would punish his deities like this. And then one of the pots came back, and he said, "Okay, Mahaprabhu, or Gora, your pot came back. Nityananda, until you bring your pot back, I'm not cooking for you." And then he was also seen at sometimes, or at least one time, he tied his Gaur Nitai to a rope, and he threw him in the river and held the rope. He was punishing his deities. There's one other story. One devotee saw him collecting flowers at one point. He was collecting water from the Ganga, and there was kind of a steep bank. But he was talking to himself. He was talking to Srimati Radharani, imagining that he was a gopi with Srimati Radharani picking flowers as he was going to go get water. And he fell. He was an older person externally. And so he fell like off of a little bank, and he was kind of lying there. And the one devotee heard him say, "Okay, Srimati Radharani, you go on without me. I'll be here for a little bit. I'll lie here for a little bit." And he's kind of, anyway, I assume devotees probably helped him. So anyway, he was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told his disciples at one point, he forbade them from seeing him because they thought that they would misunderstand his devotional service. So that's something about Vamsidas Babaji. There's a whole book written by my spiritual master, compiled by my spiritual master. It's actually one disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur traveled extensively with him, and he kept a diary of what they did every day. And so that book is just basically the diary. It's really enlivening, actually. It's a simple kind of read, because it's just like, okay, today we did this and this and this, and it's a small book also. It's really amazing. It's a really awesome book.
What's the name?
Vamsidas Babaji. Yeah. Okay, so then here's Raghunandana Thakur. Raghunandan was born into a family of physicians in the Shaka year 1432 or 1510 AD. His father's name was Mukunda Das. His mother's name is unknown. Mukunda Das was Narihari Sarkar Thakur's older brother. In the 15th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is clearly said that Mukunda Das was physician to the king. Externally, he appears to be a physician to the king who is engaged in government service, but internally he is filled with divine love. Who would be able to know his love? CC, Madhya 15:120. Okay, this is, yes. Okay, once when Mukunda Das was engaged in treating the king, he saw a peacock feather and fainted. This incident is also described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 15:121. His home is in Srikhanda, a village in the Burdwan district. On the Katwa-Burdwan rail line, the first station west of Katwa is Shripat Srikhanda, and the second, Srikhanda. Mukunda Das's home is about 1 mile from the Srikhanda station. Raghunandan Thakur took birth on the Vasant Panchami day. His uncle, so this must be his disappearance day then. His uncle Narahari took a great deal of interest in raising Raghunandan, for whom he had much affection. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicated that one's importance increases with the depth of devotion by telling Mukunda Das that his son was really his father. So Raghunandan Thakur was the son of Mukunda Das, but Mahaprabhu told him that actually Raghunandan is Mukunda Das's father because he is very...
Isn't it told in the CC that he asked Mukunda and Mukunda volunteered that who's the father and who's the son?
Yeah, here that's what it's saying. Maybe that's in CC and then the other one's in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Although I don't remember from that. Anyway. But oh yeah. Here it says that. Yeah. It said I don't know why that sentence was written like that. But anyway, here it's quoting CC. Are you Raghunandan's father, and is he your son, or is he your father and you his son? Tell me so that I can put my doubts to rest. Mukunda answered, Raghunandan is my father and I am his son, rest assured. Whatever devotion we have comes from him, therefore I see him as my father. When he heard Mukunda Das's answer, Mahaprabhu was thrilled and he said, he from whom we imbibe devotion is certainly our guru. So, from early childhood, Raghunandan Thakur would feed the family's Gopinath deity ladus. Uddhava Das has written a song in which this Lila is described. He said, in this house we worship Kṛṣhṇa, so I want you to be sure to give him something to eat. Then Mukunda Das left. Raghunandan did as his father had ordered and made the offering to the deity. Raghunandan was just a child, and in his simplicity he said to Gopinath, eat, eat. Kṛṣhṇa is controlled by love, and so he did as the child told him and ate everything on the plate without leaving a grain of rice. When Mukunda Das returned, he asked the boy to bring him the prasad from the offering he had made. The child answered, Father, he ate everything and left no remnants. Mukunda was so astonished at his child's wonderful words that he began asking him, Mukunda was astonished at his child's wonderful words that he asked him again on another occasion to make an offering. This time after he left the house, he returned and hid to watch what his son would do. Raghunandan joyfully placed a laddu in Krishna's hand and said in a commanding voice, eat, eat. When Kṛṣhṇa had eaten half the laddu, Raghunandan saw Mukunda Das in the doorway. Mukunda saw that Kṛṣhṇa did not take another bite and that the half-eaten laddu remained in his hand. This caused him to be filled with love. He embraced his child, and as tears of joy rained from his eyes, spoke to him in a broken voice. That day, fortunate people came to Srikhanda to see the half-eaten laddu in Gopinath's hand. Raghunandan is not different from Cupid himself, says Uddhava Das with great feeling. All the Mahantas felt fascinated to see the Gopinath deity whom Raghunandan had fed ladus. Bhakti Ratnakara 9.525. Anyway, there's more here, but that's what's especially known. So anyway, that's Hare Krishna. Sorry, I forgot to mention that in the class, but the after party. I don't think it's known.